everybody. Thank you for coming this afternoon. I'm Alex Stolyarik. I represent Stanford University Accelerator for Learning, whose mission is to create equitable and effective learning solutions. And I'm honored to represent, XR, Metaverse, and interview these folks. I'm going to let them actually introduce themselves and say one thing that they're looking forward to this year. Please go ahead.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Deirdre Quarnstrom, and I lead the education, product, and engineering team at Microsoft. My path into education was through gaming, and so I have some experience in this sort of metaverse topic. One thing I'm looking forward to, there's so much innovation. I think seeing this coming school year, what schools are actually adopting and what they're using from everything that's out there, from all the hype, all the excitement, there's some really, really amazing use cases, and so I'm excited to see how that lands at the beginning of the school year.
Hi, my name's Adam Seldow. I lead education partnerships at Roblox, and the one thing I'm looking forward to a lot of stuff this year. It's a fantastic year, but my job getting a little bit easier with AI, hopefully. Hasn't happened yet, still waiting, but I'm hoping for that.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming. This is a great crowd. My name is Laura. My last name is Scholl, and I work at NVIDIA in the Deep Learning Institute, we call it DLI, as a senior course developer focused on Omniverse, which, do you want me to give the explanation of what Omniverse is?
We'll get into that.
Ask me later. Okay. And what am I looking forward to this coming year? I'm looking forward to SIGGRAPH because we're going to have a really cool thing there. But I can't tell you what it is. No.
Plug for SIGGRAPH.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anand. Thanks for being here with us. My job at Meta is to work with developers and folks who build apps and content that run on mixed reality and virtual reality headsets that drive things like educational outcomes for kids, fitness and wellness, stuff like that. The thing that I'm most excited about was we spent the last 4 years trying to dip our toes into how do we change educational outcomes using VR and MR. We've got powerful learning results, and we announced yesterday we're going to scale it at the end of the year, so we're excited for that.
Awesome. Well, we'll start with Deirdre. Could you tell us more about what you guys are doing with AI and schools and learning institutions?
Yeah, for sure. So we've really pivoted the last year, along with so many other technology companies, on looking at how we can use AI to make people's jobs easier, to save teachers time. And so we have a suite of tools that we have introduced over the last couple of years called Learning Accelerators, and they're focused on foundational skills like literacy, math, and well-being, and some future-ready skills like information literacy, digital literacy, speaker presentation skills, and we've been looking at how we can bring AI into those. So with our reading progress and reading coach tools, those are for use in school environments for encouraging reading. So the greatest predictor of literacy rates is reading practice, and then that translates into more success in learning. And so with reading progress, the teachers can do assessments much more frequently with lower stigma for the students, and also create custom reading passages that are including vocabulary words, including the students' reading levels, and also student interests. We also extend that through the Reading Coach tool, and that's available free to anyone, where the students can create their own reading passages for practice. And so we're really leaning into student agency, leaning into personalized learning, and using the technology that's available today and doing that in a very safe and responsible way, but keeping the human in the center, keeping the educator and keeping the learner in the center. It's just some of what we're doing there.
Adam, please.
Sure. So Roblox is focused essentially on making it easier to go from idea to creation. And AI is certainly an awesome tool for this. It's not new to the creation process at Roblox. There's like 4.4 million or so experiences on Roblox. That's games and other things on Roblox. And they were created by 2.4 million creators. So there's a lot of creation going on already, but it's getting easier. And some of the things that we just announced at the Game Developer Conference that are pretty cool is one of them is it's called Avatar Auto Setup. And so you can have a 3D model of, let's say, like an astronaut. Our partner, Boston Museum of Science, who created an experience called Mission to Mars, has like an astronaut as a 3D object. And it took them a while to animate this avatar and add facial expressions and all the cool stuff that you need for avatars. And now there's an AI-driven tool called Avatar Auto Setup that reduces that to minutes. So basically anything you have as an object, you can turn into an avatar with a couple clicks of a button, including French fries. That's what my friend's avatar is. And then once you have that astronaut, there's another tool that just came out called Texture Generator. And Texture Generator is kind of what it sounds like. You take this spacesuit or this astronaut that you just set up, and in prose, in normal generative AI-like language, you type, make 10 different spacesuits that are different colors with different levels of sheen from shiny to matte. And it will do that. And before, that took a long time. So you can see how these types of things are democratizing creation, making it easier. And I'll sprinkle some more examples as we discuss this, but that's a few.
So with Omniverse, which is, I may as well explain what it is. It's a platform. It's not an app. It's a platform that allows different DCC applications to work interoperably. So for instance, you develop in Unity, or you develop in Epic Games Unreal Engine and MetaHuman, and you use Maya or 3ds Max or lots of others. Anyway, lots and lots of others. Those can connect in. They have their own format, and normally that's a big problem to get one to handshake with the other. But now through the Omniverse platform, they can. And Omniverse is based on an acronym that you would be familiar with, but it changes in its meaning, USD, which is not Unified School District. It is Universal Scene Description. And so that scene description allows these different apps to all communicate with each other. We use AI right now immediately. I mean, we're working on all kinds of things to get AI more involved in the pipeline, but the most obvious one that you may or may not have heard of is audio to face and audio to emotion. And so we have those microservices available so that once you have a 3D model like what you were talking about, you can add those expressions and you can do it through, and we also have text to speech, so you could write it and then it goes through text to speech and then it goes out to the...
How many folks are familiar with Omniverse? Okay, great deal.
That's pretty good, actually.
So just to follow up real quick on that, so you have a whole institute, the Learning Institute, to actually help the adoption of that.
Well, DLI is not devoted just to Omniverse. DLI teaches all kinds of things like data analytics, courses for Jetson Nano, data replication and simulation, LLM, large language model.
But all in all, this is your vehicle to adoption in say schools,
Right.
universities,
But,
institutions.
All of this, all those courses are available to anyone. Some of them are free. The ones that are not free, we charge for the CSP, which is cloud sharing provider. So it's just a wash. You're paying for your own cloud time, but we don't make a profit on any of those pieces of education. And then at the GTC, which just happened 3 weeks ago at the same time as the GDC, we had workshops, and those do cost something.
Game development conference. Anand, please.
Just a couple of questions. How many educators in the room? Majority educators, cool. How many of you have tried any sort of like virtual reality device? Wow, okay. How many have tried a mixed reality device? This is really great for market share. Okay, good.
You're in the right place.
Yes. No, it's like falling in love. If you haven't tried it, you won't know what it is. So the reason why I led off with this question is the way we think about AI, to your question, is how can it make things more invisible between the learner and the learning outcome? So we're operating we're using AI at a level that you won't see or feel or know. So let me give you examples. When you put the headset on, a Quest 3, for example, we auto-detect the space. So we can actually map the walls and the tables and the chairs. And so if you are working on a science project, your little Martian will appear on the table. And if you can program the Martian to walk 6 steps towards the edge of the table, the Martian will fall off the table because gravity works. And you can manipulate the gravity of the Martian so when the Martian falls off the table, the system knows where the floor is and the Martian bounces off, right? So like, there are things that we do through machine learning, which was the cool, unsexy predecessor to AI, that helps kids experientially, or learners experientially touch, feel, learn, and understand how concepts are supposed to work, which is really where we've seen learning outcomes with this technology. So that's like one thing. The other thing is to remove every single piece of computer interface that we've historically grown up with. I grew up with Windows 95 before the internet, and I remember bulky keyboards and mice. We've slowly, over successive generations, removed peripherals, right? Now it's getting to a point where with AI and machine learning, your body is the controller, so I can reach out and grab Mars and spin it around, or I can grab a virtual lab equipment that is not existing in real life and like pour the stuff out of the beaker and the physics would work, right? So it's your hands and your eyes and your body are the controller and you're moving through this experience that allows
So embodied learning, I mean, the other way.
Yeah, so those are 2 ways we do it. We're not yet there at the application layer, which is what Adam was talking about. So
You might as well just tell us about this big announcement that, you know.
well, it's already announced, so I'm not breaking news.
Tell us more.
Side story, Adam and I go a long ways back because Adam used to be at Meta. Before that, he used to be an educator. That's where everything that I know about...
Always an educator, once an educator.
Everything that I know about serving educators, I've learned from Adam, and we worked together 8 years ago. We've been on this journey on how to drive learning outcomes and efficacy, and as virtual reality was born and VR headsets and MR headsets have reached a critical mass, as evidenced by the completely unscientific poll, we said, let's build a bunch of content so we can give it in the hands of educators and learners and see what it does to learning. Turns out that learning outcomes, retention, recall, I remember Adam teaching me these words. There's like a few of these.
The right word,
Right
retention is
words. Okay,
good.
all right. All of them go up and they persist because there's usually a fad effect with new technology and kids get bored, but that is not what we're seeing over longitudinal studies. So then we asked ourselves the question, if we know it works, how do we get it in the hands of more learners? So yesterday we announced, and this is, Adam knows this because when he used to be at Meta, we've talked about this. After many, many years, we've reached a point where we are going to enable a broader network of schools to adopt devices, control them, install apps, make sure that the kids are getting access to the right apps, and the educators get the ability to like deliver courses through this quote unquote like administration platform. So thank you. I promise you it'll be buggy. There will be a lot of edge cases where we'll fail at, but we've gone from inability to ability to do it, and with all your help, we'll go from ability to like, it just works. We're not there yet.
Wait till we hear what Microsoft's doing.
Oh, I was just going to say, kids love finding bugs, and I love telling you it's glitchy. So that's part of the learning process.
Yeah, but regardless, tell us about like, how do you respond? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's nationwide.
Yeah, so you know, we really have this suite. I mentioned the learning accelerators and that combination of tools, getting the tools in the hands of the learners and helping them create more easily. So things like Microsoft Copilot and how that's already helping both in sort of the kind of jobs that we do, but also for learning and creation, overcoming that blank sheet of paper problem by using prompts and really encouraging iteration, which is key to learning. It's something when I used to lead the Minecraft education work, and it was something that we found with Minecraft was being in a virtual 3D environment, immersive environment, having an avatar as a representation, it encouraged people to try again and to keep going when they failed, when they ran, like in some cases in Minecraft, literally ran into a wall. It reduced that fear of failure. And so there's something incredibly beneficial about those 3D virtual environments that helps guide along the learning process.
Could you just open a little bit? I know that you have a huge development group, and you guys are like working on the next gen and the research. What can you tell us? What's coming up? Like, what's the latest?
Yeah, well, obviously there's been a lot of news and announcements around Gen AI. One area that's really exciting is on math learning. And so if you've been paying attention to ChatGPT and large language models, one of the critiques is they're bad at math problems. So you have these incredibly powerful models doing amazing work with summarization, creating scenarios, but specifically doing math accurately. And so we're doing work, number one, to tune and optimize models and create smaller models that are much better at math, and also how we scaffold the learning process. So a student's not plugging in an equation and getting an answer. Instead, they're getting prompts along the way to sort of get to their level of knowledge and help surface tips and information to guide that process. So that's something that will be very exciting. We see Khan Academy and Khan Migo doing that today, and so looking at how do we take that kind of technology, that kind of approach, and bring that and make it much more broadly available.
Thank you. Adam, you talked about give us use cases. Yeah, I mean, give us a little more.
Use cases. I guess I'll start with like a challenge that we're trying to address, and that's like really in education. As a former teacher, if you can start with a rich problem and then organize your lessons around solving that problem, it sticks a little bit with the kids. So I will start with the rich problem. Two problems, to be exact. One is with the proliferation of making things easier and more accessible, I'm really nervous about the educational content not being as academically rigorous. And that's one of the challenges we're working on at Roblox, is when we talk about educational content on Roblox, that we're very clear about how we define it, and we're taking actions to ensure that it is academically rigorous. So what do we mean by that? We mean that it is standards aligned, some widely recognized body of standards, and that it's 3D immersive, and it's multiplayer. And so the way we define this even further is we say it's game-based learning, to mean that you start with the standard, which are pretty broad and open-ended, and then you align learning objectives, which are more narrow. So if you understand these learning objectives, you will inevitably understand the standard. And then each one of those learning objectives is mapped directly to a game mechanic. So you're learning by doing. You're immersing yourself in the game, and as you take actions, as you solve things in the game, you're completing learning objectives which lead to the outcome of the standard. And so that's how we're very proactively defining academically rigorous on the platform. And we've created a fund, the Roblox Community Fund, which is money to catalyze this. So we're working with partners, content providers that are familiar to schools like Project Lead the Way, NWEA, which is now part of Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, and so forth, who have existing curricula in schools and providing the 3D immersive experiences that help supplement that curriculum. The second challenge that I think, the second meaty problem, and this is persistent throughout any aspect of education and in life really, is equity and access, right? And there's no way that we're going to solve even a drop in the bucket of these problems, but we are trying. And one of the things that is a great example of this is that in the experiences, Roblox just released a tool for any developer on Roblox. I'm trying to remember the exact name of it. It's like chat translation or something. I should come up with a full product name. But you can now, any developer on Roblox can put chat in their experience and automatically translate to 16 different languages in real time. So you're typing in English, and your friend who is a native Spanish speaker can type back to you in Spanish, but it shows up to me in English and so forth. And So I go into these experiences sometimes and see like 6 or 7 different language speakers all communicating in their native language, which just blows my mind. And so those little things, when piled up, actually help chip away at this problem of equity and access.
Yeah, and approaching it from a game perspective as well helps draw in people who are maybe not as motivated for the learning. And I think that's a great example of what Anand talked about on making it invisible, right? So if you can suddenly connect people who are speaking different languages, it's amazing.
That's right. Doing great. So Laura, question for you. I know that you're working with higher ed, like universities, and could you tell us a little bit more about those programs and
Absolutely. So the key thing that I actually do at NVIDIA and in the DLI Institute is teaching kids. And teaching kids are where we work with universities to have them help us develop materials which are then shared over Creative Commons and downloadable for any educator with a .edu email address or approved otherwise that we approve internally at NVIDIA can download that material for free and integrate it into their curriculum. And this is really important because at the university level and perhaps even at the K through 12 level, teachers don't get paid to develop curriculum. They just get their salary or however they're paid. And so this is free material that they can integrate and upgrade what they're doing. So this way they can use, we also have programs that allow the universities to get access to Omniverse for free, not just, you can get individual licenses right now, but to get a cloud shared license, for enterprise, we sell that, but to the universities, we allow that for free.
what are some of the examples that you can give us?
So for an example, one of the people, and actually he did this on his own, University of Texas at Austin, is using audio. He's a filmmaker. He aside from his position at the university, he develops his own independent films, and he uses audio to face to do all kinds of pre-visualization for his films, and sometimes it's actual final. So he's using that technology. Another company, a person who worked for quite a while at NVIDIA, and then now she's left for a company called Convey, and they're developing non-player characters so that they actually say something sensible in the game, even though there may not be an actor in a game or that type of environment. It is very cool, actually. We have other examples. We're working on a project for avatars where we're working through, it's in a sense like a research project, but to get past this sort of uncanny valley, and how do you express nonverbal and verbal things in a way that just doesn't creep people out or make them feel like, what?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're working on those kinds of things with the universities. But to be honest, the universities are doing the bulk of the work, and we're helping them package it up and share it. So it's really pretty exciting and rewarding work. It's not immediate trickle down to the K through 12.
Right. So our panel is about unlocking, AI unlocking the metaverse potential. Who wants to take a stab at that? How do we unlock metaverse potential with AI? Anybody?
I can take a look. I'll keep it lower level, meaning more pragmatic level. Like when I was a teacher and tech director and I went to sessions, my thing was like, what's one thing I can take back and use with my students, or one pragmatic thing I can take away? And hopefully I'll give you one of those, and I've heard a bunch of others. Like AI, the metaverse, all this fun stuff, I think it comes down to what can we use to make it easier on teachers and easier for kids to learn, and maybe more engaging and fun and collaborative. And so if you want to see a list of some of the Roblox answers to this, you can go to education.roblox.com, and there's a list of experiences that meet the academic requirements that I was talking about, that start with the standard map learning objectives to the game mechanics, so that they are standards aligned along with the curricular resources that go with it. I would say that two examples of like AI that manifest themselves in specific games. One is one of our partners called Lua Learning by Torpedo Software. And these are like organic. This was a kid on Roblox who created his first experience and then grew up and is now hired by Roblox because he's so awesome. Created this experience called Lua Learning. Lua is the coding language used on Roblox, similar to Python. And to learn that, he did what all of us do, kind of hack away and learn by doing. And then he brought that training to others on Roblox and created an experience called Lua Learning. He recently used AI to make it easier to solve some of the problems he had, and it's called Tutor AI within his product. Now you can ask it to explain syntax error and other errors that come up in the code in words that we can understand. And if you see 404 error, like what is that? That's what he uses AI for, to help people understand. And then another experience, Code Combat Worlds by a company called Code Combat is also a coding game, but this is based on doing a popular thing which you do on Roblox, which is move your pet around and do stuff with pets. Code Combat uses generative AI to help people create experiences within their experience. So you can actually type, every time I step on a rock, make my health go down 10%, and it creates a game that does that. And so it allows the people, the learners, the students who play this, to create their own games after they do some coding lessons. Then they can use generative AI to get a starting point that's way further along than they would have been.
So scale.
Yeah.
We actually have something along these lines. So NVIDIA is different than the other people represented here in that we are technology enablers. And so we're not producing the end result that you can just pick up and use. Nonetheless, we are working on Chat USD, which is a way to generate USD code using a chat format, and that's in the works. I can't really explain more than that because I don't even know. We also have Chat RTX. So RTX is our fast renderer that's part of the Omniverse environment. And so people have always considered rendering to be really hard when you get at the nitty-gritty level. And so that will help to do that.
We're
So
taking barriers down, right?
what?
So making
We're
it
taking
more-
barriers down, but I'm not going to mislead you and think that it's going to be this easy, press a bunch of buttons and you can just use it.
We're all waiting for that, by the way.
Yeah, and it will happen. Jensen has announced it, but it's not necessarily going to be in the next 6 months.
That's amazing. I'll add, kind of along the lines of Adam, and then maybe how we start to create a generation of people who can go work at NVIDIA and create these new scenarios. So one very tactical, similar to what Adam talked about, is a teacher prompt lab for Minecraft. And so if you're an educator and a little bit uncomfortable with Metaverse or game-based learning, being able to take a learning objective and put that in and create a Minecraft lesson with that. So that's something that was announced in January, and that's available today. So from a very tactical, helping, again, sort of cross that chasm and get beyond the early adopters who are excited and willing to put in the work to do this, just making it a bit more accessible. And then, longer term, taking what may be a seed of an interest in a learner and a young person and someone who doesn't have experience, and for them to be able to use some of the existing chat-based Copilot type experiences to, hey, there's a problem I want to solve or there's something I want to learn about, and being able to sort of build that learning path to say, what's the first thing I do? I can go become a Roblox creator and I can create my own worlds and use Lua. What do I do from there? So using, again, sort of these Copilot experiences, you can kind of go ask any question really broadly and get to a set of resources and even building kind of that plan and roadmap for working through it. So that exists today for the more highly motivated learner, including any of us, that's sort of on that path of how do I make my job easier? How do I build that path from where I am today to a goal I want to get to? And maybe we start creating the next generation of NVIDIA developers.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how are we helping teachers? I mean, are we creating materials? Are we creating classes? Are we onboarding a network of outsourced providers or help us out? Anybody?
I can speak to that also. So we have people that work at NVIDIA who came out of K through 12, and they're part of our community developer evangelists, people, and one show in particular, so that has a whole Discord channel, so I don't know that there's an age limit that goes on Discord. I don't, maybe you have to be older than 13. I have no idea. And they can participate in that community and ask questions, but there's also a particular YouTube that is live every week, but it gets recorded so you can watch it later. It's called Learn With Me. And so this person who wasn't educated for the Florida school system, middle school, she gets up there and she figures things out, and she gets the audience to participate, to have her help her figure it out. And so there's lots of things for free that students and educators can participate in to learn on their own. And people have done a lot of things, like we had a school, this was found over the Discord channel, a school, this is, once again, it's college, but in Guadalajara, this guy had a game development course. They were developing their own engines, and they used Omniverse they wrote connectors into Omniverse so that the students could share game assets between their different game engines. It was
Thank
pretty
you. I mean, we're still waiting for that 3-button solutions. I mean,
Right.
Dan Schwartz, who's
Eventually,
our Dean of Graduate School of Education at Stanford, is always asking, like, how far are we from, that? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can talk about Metaverse again. I mean, circling back.
So think about this slightly differently. The word metaverse is so overloaded, nobody knows what it is. So to your question, how will AI unlock the metaverse? I think the answer is to make it real in affordable, accessible ways. So picking up from like Adam's educator Q, like I sit here and I'm like, if I walk into a school, and you can substitute the word school for any educational institution, what are things in those spaces that are impossible to do or are so costly that it's just like, cannot get to? I guarantee you that over the next 3 to 5 years, there will be an app for that. And AI will make that happen. I will tell you 2 examples where there's an app for that where it's already happening. Are there any music teachers in this performing arts music? A little bit. There's this brilliant app called Piano Vision, made by an independent developer out of Michigan, that overlays virtual pianos on physical surfaces and has sheet music coming at you. Did you guys remember like Guitar Hero? Air guitar? Same thing, but for piano. So you can have kids pick up piano and play sheet music without having to buy a whole host of pianos. Same thing, there's another, in San Francisco, is a developer of an app called Paradiddle for teaching drums. If you know to play the drums, Paradiddle is a kind of a stroke. You can do that. You don't need to buy drum sets for 40 kids. It's a $40 app. The headset will scan the space, it'll create the geometric mesh of the space, it knows where to overlay the virtual drum kit, off you go, right? So that's like taking the music room and making it more affordable and accessible to every kid. If you go to the science lab, you cannot explode stuff in a science lab in school. It's just impossible. Guess what? You can do that in a virtual lab. Possible, right? You don't have to take kids to field trips to planetariums. Look up and the ceiling turns into a planetarium and you can teach them physics with multiplayer stuff. So I think it's stuff like that where each space in the school, there's probably going to be an app for that made through AI. There's some of it already today. So hit me up and I can point you to people to go talk to bring it into your school districts. Not a meta thing. It's like you'll have to work directly with those developers.
Yeah, I love those examples, and it reminds me, yesterday Stanford came out with the AI index report for April 2024, and one of the findings in there was that AI, from the studies they've done, is improving learning outcomes. So people are learning more through the use of AI in education, but they're finding it's not increasing engagement yet. I'm going to say yet, and so I think a lot of these kind of solutions that we're hearing these examples are ways to help increase that engagement so that you can get the benefit of the learning outcomes even, accelerated and amplified.
Right. I mean, we have running on time here, but Anand, just quickly, there's some companies in your portfolio that are doing amazing things in the App Store. Could you just like give us a little bit of that? What's your favorite, or what's?
I love all my
wow.
children
Give us the
equally.
wow fact.
If you're a STEM math and science teacher, go check out Prisms. We did a randomized control trial with WestEd, and we found learning efficacy outcomes longitudinally. If you are looking for biology, there is an app called Nano, also funded by the Department of Education initiative. Think of it as Magic School Bus, where you get into this Magic School Bus and you can go through the human body and like learn anatomy. There's one for space. There's one for like natural sciences and survival stuff called Unearthed, which talks about greenhouse gases. There's like a whole host of these. So dos@meta.com. Ping me and I will give you a list of
I was just
people
gonna
to
say,
talk to.
can we like email and get the list and onboarding? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I can add a couple specifics too for some immersive kind of science type experiments too. Minecraft Education has an amazing library of free lessons and free content, and there's demo worlds available and then free content that you can take and adapt. And many of those can be used in consumer versions of Minecraft as well. So that makes it very accessible for reading and literacy education. Coach.microsoft.com has that free reading tool that I mentioned. And that's where the learner can go in and create their own story. So they choose a character, they choose a setting, a reading level, and it creates a story that they can follow through, and they get to a point, they get their sort of reading evaluation, and then they can choose the path to go on. So you're creating this very immersive reading environment to encourage people to spend more minutes reading, doing their reading practice.
So when we're talking metaverse, we're talking immersive learning. I mean, this is like embodied learning, and these are great experiences. But what do we watch out for, Adam? Maybe you can give us like, what to be cautious about, with AI.
Well, we're cautious about exactly what I talked about as far as academic rigor. We have to be good stewards of, or good consumers of this information and make sure it's accurate. And we still go back to our first principles. Are we using primary sources? Are we checking what we find? Are we really proofing what we generate? I think that's certainly something. And then, I think the other interesting thing when we switch to thinking about formal institutions is to make sure we're respectful of the environment in which these tools are used. There are laws, there are practices that impact schools, and so when you use these tools in a formal educational setting, be respectful of those things and be good consumers. As tech directors, when they cheered when Meta made their announcement, that's on purpose, because it's really hard to manage a bunch of devices at scale, whether you're in a company or a school district. And it solves for that problem. So being a good consumer of these things and respectful of the systems that are in place in schools.
So Metaverse is alive, and for education and kicking, this is great, right? So give us 10 years from now, what do you see? All of you.
I can start, and then we'll go down the line just to give you guys time to practice. So my younger daughter has dyslexia and dysgraphia, dyscalculia, ADHD, that wonderful package of things. She's brilliant. She's such a creative thinker. She very frequently surprises me with questions she asks or ideas she has, but she really struggles to get that down on paper or into an assignment to turn that in. And so my hope, and I hope it's sooner than 10 years from now, is that she's able to use generative AI, these immersive experiences that really allow her to fully explore the wonderful things that are going on in her mind and the way that she approaches problem solving in a way that's sort of different from what we appreciate and respect and value and reward and measure in traditional school environments.
I think idea to outcome is going to rapidly accelerate. And so I struggled when I learned to code myself. It was like searching all these Substack documents and all these things to try and piece together knowledge. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted the website to look like. But getting there was a journey. And I loved that journey because it really taught me to wrestle with problems that were unstructured and learn how to code. But it took me a long time to get there. And I think about, wow, what if it was just zero to website, which that exists today, right? Back when I was struggling to do it, would I have different types of websites? Would I solve different problems, meatier problems? And so zero to creation is going to happen quickly, and it's going to increase students, learners' abilities to display what they know and to explore many different things.
I just want to add to what Adam just said. I think that people will have the freedom to come up with more ideas because there'll be more time to do that. And it will be overwhelming at the same time, so.
We're like seconds left. Anand, close this out.
Three predictions. VR and MR headsets will become like Chromebooks. Every classroom will have it. It'll become affordable. 2, teachers will become more empowered. And the power will get back in the hands of teachers and how they want to shape a personalized curriculum. And the third thing is the hype about the metaverse will finally become real in 10 years. But there's a lot of problems. We don't know all of them, so I can talk about some of those when we step out the stage, but we could use all the help we can get to fix a bunch of those problems. Like how to get into school districts, really hard. And then developers don't make money, so they won't build content, and then like there's no content. So like that's the reason why you have the creator fund, because it's a problem. So.
Well, I want to thank this panel. This is awesome. We're going to be outside, by the way, if you have questions. And all of the panelists are available for at least 5 minutes after.
Thank
So
you,
thank you
Alex.
so much.